So you moved to London, which is quite brave. So essentially, you just like, I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna start from here. So at that point, you said you had what, like 5,000 on YouTube and
Yeah, something like
100,000 on Instagram.
it was the end of 2016. Like there really wasn't many at all. I'd put out a few videos, but there was no structure to it whatsoever. I had zero sort of experience. Like I look back at some of my old videos now, I'm just like, oh my god, what the hell was that about? There was one thing which was quite successful. It was the Common Mistakes series.
Okay.
So I put out a video for every muscle group, which was what's the most common mistakes people make when doing this body part. And it was what I think was the shoulder video, for whatever reason, went quite viral. So I got over 100,000 views. So that started to bring in a fair few people from people within YouTube. And it's funny because I had quite a big following on Instagram, and I'm like telling everyone, hey, go and watch my YouTube video or go and subscribe, and people are just like, no. It's very hard to move people from one social media platform to the other. They're both very different, and I think in order to grow YouTube you have to find people who are already on YouTube.
100%.
So I guess the start of 2017, I think I'd just been in Egypt. I was on holiday with my girlfriend. I came back, fresh mind. I was like, right, this is the year I'm going to smash YouTube. And I just started pumping videos out like every 3 to 4 days. And there was, we did this, it was like an arm workout, which is that is my most viewed video to date.
Yep.
It's over 4 million views. And that was just the start of it. When you have a viral video, you start to bring loads of subscribers in, and then that kind of really motivated me to just keep pushing. Because when you put in a lot of work and you see rewards from your work, you're like, yes, it's 100%, working.
Yeah,
keep doing it, and that's what I kept doing.
Yeah, to be honest, after putting the first podcast out and like 5,000 people listened to it and it got to top 50 in the charts, I was like, damn, I need to take this podcast thing even more seriously, even though I was. But now I'm like, okay, this can really like be a thing for myself. And I'm only doing all this to like become more of a practical person. So I know the industry from working with influencers, but actually trying to become one yourself and running your own ads and own everything, it's a different learning experience.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to keep grinding, because the first few videos or podcasts you put out, they might not do that well, and that's where most people give up and you think, oh well, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But if you just keep grinding, there'll often be one video or one podcast which just does very, very well, and you're like, oh crap, like people are actually interested.
Yeah.
And that's, you keep going.
So would you say then what is about a year and a half to get from like 5,000 to like 400,000 subscribers?
Oh, no, it was less than that. It was within 6 months I got 200,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's funny because...
But how?
I don't know. People wanted to watch me. I don't know. It was...
No, so I'm sure it's more than that. So
yeah, the videos which did very well was like top 5 exercises you should be doing. That brought in a lot of views.
But how did that come about? Like, what was the thought behind that series? Did you do any research? Like, how, at that point, let's just say, maybe now you're more experienced, but at that point, how did you decide what content to create?
Oh, that's one of the hardest things, I think, because you can do a bit of research on YouTube, but then it looks like you're copying someone else's video, which a lot of people do now. They see a video that does well, they try to put their own spin on it. I just thought, because the Common Mistakes series did very well, I just thought, there's so many exercises out there which people do to hit a certain muscle group. Yeah. I just thought, from my experience of training myself and my clients, which are like sort of the best bang for your buck exercises. Yeah. And I thought this would be quite a good, series to put together. And I did. And I think what I did as well, I had the combination of me obviously performing the exercises on video and doing the voiceovers, which I think worked very well. I think people liked my videos because they were short, sweet, to the point, and there was no sort of bull associated with it, because people like to waffle on. And I'd watch other people, put these videos together, and I was just like, what are they just talking about nonsense? Like, let's just get to the point of this video. Instead of like 5 minutes in, you're actually talking about what the title is. Yeah. So I would, the thing which massively helped was doing the voiceover. I could be straight to the point and talk about what the video is showing. Whereas when you try and do it in the gym, a noisy gym, it can drag on quite a lot, and the video being, end up being really quite long. So I think that's one of the things which people liked. Was I wasn't trying to sell anything to people. Yeah. I wasn't even selling my own services. I just thought, look, let's just offer some good content which people will value and get benefit from.
I guess that's the main point, right? So if you just create good content, then that is more chance of people actually like enjoying it and subscribing to see more. But what about in terms of like you said, you planned this common mistakes thing. That was from your experience, because you knew like these are the things people are mainly making mistake. I should make content about this. And from that point, like how do you plan your content? You know,
it's
do you have a system? Do you have a process? Because that's what really people want to know. You know,
think this is one of my downfalls, because I would say I'm quite unorganized, and if I actually had more structure to my YouTube channel and planning videos, it would be even more successful than it is now. What tends to happen is ideas will come to my head and I'll write them down. Like I have a notepad in my phone of all potential titles of videos which I could do. And another thing is as well is I try and keep it quite varied, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, like people get a bit bored, and even I get bored. Like if I keep talking about the same content, I don't enjoy doing the videos. So if I have a particular interest in something at that point in time, I like to talk about it. Or if a particular topic comes up, you know, say for example with a client, I'm like, that could be quite a good video. Like this one I've had recently where, you know, I just put a video out of me training a client when I was in Amsterdam. Like it was a full-on video where I'm coaching my client through a back workout. It's got amazing feedback so far, because it actually, for the first time, shows people what it's like if they were if they were being coached by me in person. And that idea just kind of came up out of nowhere.
I think especially, you know, today I would advise any influencer to make content that's like really real. And I watched the video because it was so real that it's someone actually training and you're actually giving them real advice. It's real training. It's not just a video created for the sake of content or edited really cool with fancy B-roll. If it has real value in it, then people will like it. Because I think today there's too many people on YouTube who create content that they think will look good, or sound good, or has, you know, cool drone footage, etc., etc. And if they don't have all that, it's not going to be good. The truth is that if you actually just put good value in your content that someone can really relate to, because I guess for you, your following is fitness based. So because you put out a detailed video saying that, you know, if you're doing bent over rows and your wrists are not the right way, you know, and it's like, oh, like you didn't know, you know. So when you're watching it, you're learning something, and I think that's the key thing to why you're seeing a good response.
I think it's hard as well, because now there's so much competition. I will look at other fitness guys on YouTube, you know, see what is making them successful or why their channel is growing. There's a couple of guys who have really upped the standard in terms of the editing and the research they put into their video, and I'm just like, oh my god, like that must take so much work. And I thought, that's what I have to do as well. And I'm like, the amount of money and time that would have to go into really making a video look super like cool with the edits and you know, the visuals, you know, it stressed me out a bit, because I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like I'd rather just, like you said, just keep it more real and to the point. And with that video I did where I'm coaching my client, I actually said at the beginning of the video, I'm like, look, there's not gonna be any fancy music or fancy edits. Like this is just, it is what it is. This is me in the session training my client, and you know, it's done really well.
So when you were getting into it, like from the 5,000 onwards, so like what did you start with?
I've always had like quite a curiosity to be good at something. Like I've never really liked somebody else to do the work for me, because if you rely on somebody else to edit a video, you just have to wait. It might take somebody 3 days because they have other stuff to do. But if you really want to pump this video out straight away, it's much easier for me to just edit it myself, and then I can edit it in exactly the way I want to edit it. I like being in control of things I put out, and you know, with my business as well. And this is one of those things you just have to teach yourself. Obviously, I started off, didn't have a microphone. The audio was absolutely shocking. You know, even the videos that have got really good views, I'll watch back now and I'm just like, oh my god, like it just makes me cringe how bad the audio is. So I think someone complained about the audio, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right, the audio is actually terrible. So then I went and bought a microphone, and then you just start to figure out these cool little features, you know, doing transitions and, you know, getting different angles, slow-mo, stuff like that. And sometimes you can get inspiration from watching other videos, like they do something cool and you're just like, oh, whoa. And I think especially with quite a lot of the edits I've done, a lot of the time I'll see someone do something, I'm like, I can do better than that. That's what got me into YouTube in the first place, was because I'd have a look at other people making these YouTube videos, and a lot of them are pretty naff in terms of like the advice they were given. I was like, what the hell? I know more than this guy, and this guy has a huge following. So,
but that's the question, isn't it? But can you put it in good content that people would want to watch? Because that's what I would say. The most thing people say, especially about fitness influencers, like, what does that guy know? His body's not that great, or he's not that big, whatever it is. So they judge people on that. But I guess what they don't realize, the hard part is being able to create the content that people would want to see. And
that's why quite a lot of people are still kind of, they might have a big Instagram following, but they don't really have anything on YouTube, is because the time that goes into filming and editing, but then the presentation skills as well, because I was horrendous in front of the camera.
Now, on Instagram you can very easily like front it, meaning that as long as you look good in pictures, and if someone can take nice pictures of you, you can have a good Instagram account. But on YouTube it comes so much more to like having a bit more camera skill, being able to talk on camera and having a personality. Hence why there are people who can't do the crossover.
Yeah, because I was trying to promote my services on Instagram before YouTube, and I put so much time and effort into a caption, trying to convince people that I knew what I was talking about and that you should buy my services. Yeah, it's hard to convince people with text. Yeah, and I barely, uploaded any videos or spoken to the camera. This was before Instagram stories as well, and I was like, I have to get my skills across on a different platform. People need to hear me talk. Yeah. When you watch a video and you watch or listen to somebody talk, you feel like you can, well, obviously if they're a trustworthy person, you feel like you can trust them more, or you feel like, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking 100%. About.
Especially if you're looking at the camera and making eye contact. Yeah. Once a person watches 3-4 times your video, they start building a relationship that you can trust this person now. It's like, because you're having a one-on-one almost conversation with this person virtually, and that leads to building that trust that one day will turn into a transaction.
Because as soon as YouTube started growing, demand for my services just went through the roof.
Yeah. Just a takeaway for people is, so if someone was setting up now to, let's just say, what camera and like stuff do you use, software you just said Final Cut, what's your advice to them?
Start off with the basics. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands of pounds on equipment. Just get a decent camera. One, ideally with a flip screen, so you can see yourself talk back. I think that's been hugely beneficial. And then I guess having a microphone is quite important. But then that's it. You need that and the software, and you're good to go. You can start getting more stuff further in the future. Like if you wanted to get a GoPro or a drone or things like that. You don't necessarily need to spend a load of money on hiring someone to film for you either. Just get a friend or a training partner to film, and just start putting content out. Once you start, just continue with it, and don't necessarily be put off thinking it's too late, because there's always room for people to succeed if the content they put out is good.
Because even yourself, to be fair, from what you're saying, so even starting in 2017, that's only last year. That's late. And to where you are today, that is very late, because we were just talking about like Sergey Constance, for instance, earlier before this podcast, and I'm sure he had like 1 million followers like even 2 years ago. The guys, like some of the people that are on Instagram are huge. They were there for like ages ago. For you to start like last year, like if it's on YouTube, and then to have 400,000 subscribers, it's mad. And for anyone listening, like you can easily start today and just find your own niche in terms of the content you're putting out, like you have done, right? So you found like good quality information about fitness. There's a place for it. What about someone that's like struggling to what they're gonna say on camera, or how you should be on camera? Like obviously you've made
it's just
so many videos.
Practice. I would just recommend, I think getting a tripod as well is useful. You need a tripod. Put your camera on a tripod and just speak to it about a topic which you are going to talk about. Do you like
script it? So do you actually like script it? Do you make notes, or do you just fully just talk?
I've found it's really hard to script something and then just repeat it. It doesn't come across very natural. I improvise, but what I found helps is I have this whiteboard, and I make bullet points on the whiteboard, and I put the whiteboard in front of me. So because there's a lot of information which I need to get across, and there's a limited amount of time, I don't really want to waffle on, so I need to just reel off all the main points. And if I do kind of forget about what it was I was going to talk about, I can just glance over to the board and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to talk about that. And I think if you truly do understand the topic, you can just let it roll off your tongue.
Yeah.
If you don't really know what you're talking about, then I think it's probably best just not to talk about it, because it comes across like this guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. I would start off with talking about what I really knew, which for me is form and training. And then when you get into the more complex topics such as nutrition or other things like that, I would definitely need to put a lot more research into it. So and it becomes almost like a presentation which you have really prepared beforehand, which if you do it well, they can be very successful videos. But I definitely find that those, I don't enjoy doing those ones as much, but sometimes they are necessary, because I would get a lot of people requesting that I cover this topic. And I think one thing which has been quite good for me is not to be so biased with one point of view, because then you have other people who will critique you and just be like, oh, well, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
I would often say this is what I believe, or these are my views, and this is what other people would say. So I'm almost defending myself if anyone wants to, lay into me. And I think there's so much which hasn't, there's a lot of science behind training and nutrition, but we're still learning so much on a day-to-day basis that, some things which were quite a common belief a year or so ago, is completely different now. There's been a new study which has just disproved that. Yeah. So I think everything's still very much in the air, and a lot of it's just experimenting, trying different approaches and finding out what works best for you.
Yeah.
And I never told people, oh, you're going to look like me, or this is the only way to do it. I'm like, this is what I've done. These were the results. Yeah. I tried this. This is what happened. This is my experience. These are the mistakes I've made. And most of the time I'm just like, I just don't want you guys to waste time and make mistakes which I've made.
Yeah. I guess, you're established influencer. You've been creating this content. So I guess like you just talked about, you've, gone through it all and I guess slowly grown. Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself as a business? What I mean by that is like, the way you operate, right? So you have, like you said, you have different revenue streams. Your marketing is the content you're putting out. Mm-hmm. You're researching or looking at other people, creating some sort of strategy to then, do this.
Yeah,
goals, etc.
It's a business which I'm completely running by myself, which has got to the point where in order for it to flourish further, I need a team. I need people to help me out. I can't do everything, which I've been trying to do everything myself. And now, time is so valuable. I can't really afford to spend time on doing tedious tasks, which someone else can be doing. Yeah. And I need to bring in other people's expertise to help, me progress in areas which I'm not necessarily clued upon. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm very good at marketing or advertising. I've just purely gone off the success of my YouTube, which has provided me an income. Yeah. If I actually had people on board helping me, with Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and actually being like, Mike, stop wasting your time doing this. This is really going to bring the money in or whatever. Then, my business is going to go to the next level.